There, I have begun. You may call the meeting to order, Chair Ellickson.
Today is June 24th, 2021. It's 5 o'clock and we're calling the Los Altos Public Arts Commission meeting to order for the month of June. And this is our second meeting in June, so it's nice to see everybody twice in 1 month. Let's take a quick roll call. Casey, if you wouldn't mind doing that.
Absolutely not. Chair Ellickson?
I am here, and you can, let's dispense with formalities. Just Nancy is great.
Okay. Monica?
I am here.
Jenny?
Here.
Paula?
Here.
And Hillary?
Here.
All
Great.
5 members are present.
Okay. We have a quorum. Anyone who would like to say Pledge of Allegiance, now is the time. And Casey, would you mind putting the flag up on the screen?
Nope, give me just 1 moment.
Sure thing. Jamie, are you going to lead? Thank you.
Yes, I will lead.
Oh, for some reason, give me just a second. I'm having just a quick technical difficulty.
There we go.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, public comment, not on the agenda. I see Mayrus is here. And Mayrus, are you representing Arts Los Altos tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick comment, if that's okay.
Great, go for it.
Oh, okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Mayrus Ahi. I'm a member of the Planning Commission, and I'm also the creative specialist for the nonprofit Arts Los Altos. I just wanted to make a quick comment, since I know that upcoming projects are going to be discussed later, along with the city budget for public art. As someone who works in the design field, I'm an architect. I know that sometimes it takes a lot of different individuals, different teams, different creative minds to really get things done successfully. So I just think if there's some opportunity where maybe the Public Arts Commission would want to collaborate with Arts Los Altos, even just to brainstorm, I think that would really benefit the community. Because at the end of the day, I think we all share the same goal, which is, to bring more art to the city. So I just thought I'd mention that. We've been able to do some really amazing stuff in a short period of time. Our new mural at 200 Main Street was just featured on the Mountain View Voice and Palo Alto Online. And we have really exciting things on the horizon too. So I just thought it would be a great opportunity, and I figured I'd mention it. So that's about it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mayrus.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Did everyone have a couple of minutes to review the meeting minutes from our special meeting on June 10th? And since I don't see any nodding heads,
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes. Yes.
are there changes, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as they stand?
I'll make a motion to approve what was the date on the minutes? That was the
June 10th.
Thank you. To accept the meeting minutes from the June 10th Public Arts Commission meeting, special meeting.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much, Paula. So we are accepting the meeting minutes as they stand. One suggested change to the agenda that I wanted to see if everyone was up for. We have a budget conversation, I think, at the very end of the meeting. And my suggestion is that we move Mother Hen until after we have that conversation, and just talk about the budget and then maybe segue into Mother Hen. Would anyone agree or disagree to that?
Agree. Do we need to vote on that or anything?
Yes, we actually do. So we're planning on moving item 2 to behind item 6.
Okay.
So with someone, if someone would like to make a motion, it sounds like Hillary, you did.
Before we do that, Nancy, do you mind if we have just a quick roll call vote on the minutes, or at least by voice?
Oh, of course. I'm so sorry, Casey. Yes, let's do a roll call on
Okay.
the minutes. And if you are on video, just raise your hand. You
That's
can also
fine.
do that.
The motion by Monica and the second by Paula. Nancy?
All in favor? Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Yes.
Thank you. I skipped right over that, Casey.
Not a problem.
Casey's trying to
Okay.
keep us honest.
I know. So Mother Hen art piece. Would anyone make a motion to move that to behind the budget so we can go over the budget first?
I make a motion
Yes, I
to
do
move
have-
the Motherland art piece discussion to after the budget discussion.
Okay, I'll
We have-
second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's do a roll. Raise
Aye.
your hand if you're on video. Otherwise, just say aye. From me.
Aye.
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 Okay. All right. I think we had maybe too many ayes. Okay. Moving to our call for art. There's nobody that's really new on the commission that has not gone through a call for art. Ginny, you've gone through a call for art before with us, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
We wait for Sheila or get started after that?
All right. So we talked at the last meeting about doing a call for art and looking at the documents that Jamie sent out to us. What does anyone have any changes or any ideas as to how those documents should read, be edited, different ways of sending it out? I'm curious, Jamie, do we have emails for all the artists that we go to?
No, thank you. So I do. I'll go ahead and share my screen so that everyone will be able to visually see. Definitely want to get information and follow up on timeline. I was able to touch base with John Maginot, and so I do have the ongoing list of artists, including their contact information. So we do have that available for once the timeline and the program is finalized by the arts commissioners, then we can go ahead and utilize that, that email or contact distribution list to get that information out.
Okay, do you roughly know how many names are on that list?
I will bring that up so I can give you a number. If you just give me one moment, I will bring that up. And I won't share on the screen, but I will give you the number.
Yeah, thank you.
While she's looking at on the flyer that was in the attached document, the stipend is still $5,000 for call for artists. I thought we had discussed lowering that, or are we keeping it at $5,000?
I think we did discuss lowering that, but Jamie, didn't you remind me that we discussed it, but we never voted on it?
No, so you did with the recommendation for the budget, and Hillary, I would say the disconnect is I did update the entry form, but the flyer is the old one, and I had left that information from what it was previously, but you did approve reducing it to 1,500, taking a look at this next year. Okay. And then in the budget, it talked about possibly increasing depending on how this first year went.
I see.
Can I make two addition, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
I have some intel that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks about what other cities are doing. And there is a city in Oregon that actually has a phenomenal turnout for their public art loan program, and they offer $850. They're thinking they might bump it up to $1,000, but they're getting pieces, $35,000 pieces. And so the question that I asked them was, oh my gosh, do you really get people that, we've experimented with numbers, do you really get people with interesting art for $850? Well, they do. And what they do as part of that program is the stipend that they provide is only for the artist to get there with the art. And so it pays for like an overnight stay in a hotel or whatever if they're traveling from somewhere. And I thought that was really interesting. When I asked the question about insurance, to remind everybody, city staff, you may not know this, but the artist is on the hook for transportation, anything they need for installation outside of a cement pedestal or a cement square, and insurance. And so the person that, the one out in front of Assistance League, our beautiful piece that's there, I can't remember I cannot remember the name.
Is it the Warrior?
I'm sorry. No, it's not Warrior. It's by the same artist. So it's the one with wings sitting out in front of it.
The Guardian.
The Guardian, thank you. And she came from New Orleans and had that piece shipped and paid for it and got $1,000 stipend. So I'm wondering if we want to float a proposal to the city to see if there is a willingness to offset the insurance costs, so that the artist could, the stipend that we provide, whether it's $1,000, $1,500, or whatever it is, would offset the, it wouldn't include insurance, and it would give the artist more money in their pocket.
Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, but does Lake Oswego, do they promise to buy one or two pieces, so that also kind of entices the artist to show up? They don't? Okay.
Yeah. But what they do, thank you for revealing my source, Monica. And
I just know that that's where Chris Jordan used to be, so.
Right. Right. And what they do with their program is they promote the art to be sold. And their call for art, their goal is to bring in 15 new pieces a year and to price those pieces, some as high as $35,000, and sell them for the artist. And I would propose that that is a really good idea for us. We have the placements. We have the budget to do it. And we've got a pretty good following of people that respond. And my feeling is, we've never done it before. We've never promoted pieces to sell. Let's do it in a big way. We'll have more people coming to the city. We've got we're fortunate that we have a lot of city property we can fill. It's an idea, a gallery without walls is an idea that we haven't really explored. And so why not? So I'd love to open that up for discussion.
Is your source city, who runs their public art program? Who's running their program?
It's two groups. It is a small city committee, which is volunteers like an arts commission, but it's called the committee. And several years ago, they spun out. This is something that Monica's right. This is something that Chris Jordan was telling me about a couple of years ago. And they spun out an arts council. And the arts council has got 3 paid employees. Essentially, the arts committee is, oh gosh, they're kind of the managers over the whole program, and the arts council is the implementers, the doers. And it's a really interesting concept. The arts committee contracts with the arts council annually. I want to get my notes out here, hold on. They contract with the arts council and funds them. That pays for their 3 employees. They have a 1.5% funding program. They earmark that 0.5% for a maintenance. It goes into a maintenance account. And so when they have artwork that is, broken, scratched, dinged, whatever, they have the money already earmarked to pay for that. They also use it kind of as their slush fund if there's something that comes up that like they just can't pass by. They use a little bit of that money. But it's really it's designated to pay for maintenance. So the committee provides the oversight for the council.
Interesting.
And it's really an interesting run program. They do insure the pieces that they get through their loan program. When they sell those pieces, now I kind of had a little bit of an issue with this, but when they sell those pieces, they get a 30% commission. I think that 30% is a little on the steep side, but it funds they're a 501c3 nonprofit, the council, and it funds them. It funds that council.
So that's not city employees, they're private employees.
They're private employees of the 501c3. And what I think we would envision, and I think that there's a lot of planning that would go into it, but I don't think it would be employees. I think it would be volunteers. The council would be volunteers, but maybe it's employees. But what they do when they do their art selection of pieces that the city is buying, they create a group of residents, maybe 5 or 6 residents that all weigh in on pieces. And they do that for each piece that they get. I think that's kind of an interesting way of involving the community. Anyway, so I think as we go out and look at how other cities do it, Lake Oswego was kind of low-hanging fruit because it was one that was recommended to me. I think as we go out and look at how other cities are doing it, we might have some ways we want to change our call for art and how we position our call for art. But I'm kind of thinking that making it, a gallery without walls is a really great idea, or art without walls. or something like that, and giving it a name rather than calling it a call for art for City of Los Altos, maybe a call for art for City of Los Altos, the open gallery, or gallery without walls, or art without walls. Something like that that we can hang our hat on. What do you all think?
I like the idea of rebranding the program because it's inclusive to all different types of art and locations of art. And a gallery doesn't imply that things are for sale. So, it could be just come and look at what we have.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
worth thinking about and investigating and exploring. There are a lot of kind of moving parts to that. So I think that we just have to kind of do some more research. It would be interesting to see if that would draw in more art. I think for me, it is kind of managing the nuts and bolts of getting the art in and selling it and all that just has to be kind of sorted out. But I think it's an idea worth exploring. It's also just worth exploring kind of other ways to do the program. So I think it's good to take a look at it like that.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
tend to agree with that. I think you presented a lot of moving parts there, and each one of them we need to take a look at. For instance, I have no idea how we would go about promoting the art for sale, because that's a brand new concept. There are a lot of brand new concepts as part of it.
You can do that, Jenny.
Ginny, our current art that we have on loan is available for sale.
Yeah, but I don't think people in the community know that. Maybe I'm wrong. Nobody that I've talked to has any idea that any of those pieces are for sale.
I would agree with that. I don't think that's a known fact. But it's a cool idea because you could potentially get art cycling through the community more quickly rather than having pieces sit for 4 or 5 years if there's more of an active sales program.
Particularly,
the manpower involved in
I will venture too that, I mean, this might be something that, we kind of need to educate the community. I'm not sure a lot of people would think of buying one of the pieces for themselves. A lot of people think of public art as something that's.
I think though after the. Sorry, Hillary, go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say after the bear program where the bears are all for sale, I think this would be a good follow through as people in the community realize that they can buy the works.
Is there a way we could sort of start with a model, like a small project or small, maybe, I don't know, I guess, Nancy, are you thinking we need to kind of revamp the whole program, or is it something we need to kind of research, or is there a way we could test it out?
We should change the name of it and Gallery Without Walls or Art Without, I like Art Without Walls, Call for Art. And I don't want to copy like Oswego and do Gallery Without Walls. I think that's theirs. Monica, do you remember what theirs was offhand?
I think I can look it up, but I suspect when I'm in a meeting, I'm not supposed to be looking things up. I believe it's Gallery Without Walls.
Maybe we do Art Without Walls. And I think we need to do a rebranding with this call for art. Be part of, and I agree with you, it's way lots to swallow on a first go round. That maybe our goal is 5 pieces or 6 pieces, depending on the submissions that we get. And that's our set to experiment with. And we get those pieces and, maybe we're open. We get those pieces and Ginny does I think that we have the people for the right recipe. Ginny does a great job with her articles in Town Crier. And so we do a little bit more promoting in Town Crier and make sure that people understand that those pieces are for sale. And
do you suspect, Nancy, that the reason that Lake Oswego gets so many artists submitting works when they have their call for art is because there is general knowledge that the pieces are for sale?
I think that they started like we would, and the program grew.
There's
And
a lot of
so-
art in Lake Oswego. My in-laws live up there, and there's a lot higher ratio of pieces in the downtown than we have. So it's a really present program.
Yeah, and we have got the space to do it, and focusing not just on our business district, but focusing on areas of South Los Altos. We've got the space to do it. I think it's just a matter of putting our toe in the water and giving it a try. You know, a couple of years ago, we tried $5,000 as a stipend to see if we were going to up the ante as far as better art. It didn't work. We bought one piece that's going to go in the community center, but for the most part, we didn't find a lot more. Let's bring our price back, or our stipend back down, and try and go for quantity and see if we can. You know, we've got Jenny doing town crier. We've got art programs that we're doing. You know, maybe we can put a toe in the water and see what we can sell. And remember that the bears are going to be selling, and not everyone might have money that they want to spend, but everyone might not have a bear that they want to buy. So we may be able to pick up a little bit of sales from that.
I think if we do it, I would like to see some sort of like, maybe the Public Arts Commission puts on some sort of, you know, a one night speaker series of people who do own a significant piece of public art privately, and how do you buy public art and why, you know, just so we can kind of help propagate the idea. There's definitely people in Los Altos who do, and we can maybe get them on board, or find some other way to kind of help, because I do think we need to also just kind of communicate that idea to the community, like the bears, following up on the bears. If you missed out on getting a bear, we're bringing in some great art, and guess what? You can buy it. How do you buy it? How do you put it in your yard? You know, people may need some, you know, a little bit of help getting their minds around that idea, because I think that's not always there. So I think it's worth trying. I still think I have to figure out like how, even if we did just 5 pieces, who does, you know, because we are the Public Arts Commission and we have to be pretty transparent to make sure everything's above board. We need to figure out how will that work, who is handling the sales, all that. So that does seem like the moving part which needs to be figured out. But I think it's a good idea and worth trying.
Jenny,
Can I
what are your
make a
thoughts?
suggestion? Oh, go ahead.
What was the question?
Go ahead, Monica. Sorry.
You've given us a lot to think about and a lot to chew on. In the meantime, as we prepare for our current call for art, can we rename or rebrand our call for art or our program?
Well, larger question seems to be, do we kind of want to table it and rebrand it? Like I don't think we can do all that. We can try to do all that tonight, but do we want to kind of take it back off the table and rebrand it and try this? Figure out some of those moving pieces?
I think we've got too much to talk about to do it tonight. I think we need to sort of map out what all the points are that would go into the change, and then think about each one of them, and perhaps talk about each one of them at another meeting when we have some background and have had chance to chew on each piece of this.
Well, what I'm suggesting is that we just rebrand, instead of our sculpture loan program, which is what I think it's officially called, or we all refer to it as, maybe calling it, you know, what was the term you used earlier, Nancy? Gallery?
Art without walls.
Art without walls. You know, if we just rebrand our sculpture program, maybe that, I think that's doable tonight. That's
That's,
something
yeah,
that we can all probably either agree or disagree, but we can contemplate easily.
I would agree with what Monica's saying, because if we table this, that's it, you know, just that much further out into the future before the call even
Yeah.
is out, and it takes several months.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So let's come up with an idea of what we want to call the program. And then let's see if everyone is inclined to vote for it or vote against it, for that matter. So what do you think about, instead of doing the search from the Public Arts Commission, what about calling it Los Altos Art Without Walls?
I think you need to include the Public Arts Commission name on it.
How about,
I think that's really
this then, Paula? Los Altos Art Without Walls, sponsored by Los Altos Arts Commission.
Yeah, something like that is,
yeah.
because
yeah.
you're probably all having the same experience. I'm getting a lot of questions about like, oh, you guys did that black and white mural. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, well, thanks for doing those bears. Oh, no, we didn't do that. It's getting really confusing for the residents in town, who's doing what. So I think it's important that we make sure that this includes the commission, the Public Art Commission words on there.
Okay,
What did
so
they call it in Lake Oswego? Art without a gallery or something?
gallery
without walls, I think.
Gallery Without Walls.
So really, but really what we're trying to do, I mean, what the point of it is to display it and sell it. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what words kind of really communicate that, you know.
What about
Well, we
Art
can-
Without Walls?
What?
Los Altos Art Without Walls, sponsored by, or just call it Art Without Walls, sponsored by the Los Altos Public Arts Commission.
Monica, what were you saying?
I was going to say something similar to what Nancy just said. Maybe not gallery, but we just call it Art Without Walls.
I think it's fine. I don't think it really communicates anything, but it's fine.
I would agree with you that it doesn't really communicate anything.
It doesn't communicate that we want to sell it or that we want to expose people to new art that then they can then take home, but it's fine, you know. Most of the art we've had has been without walls, so it's fine.
There's two different audiences we're talking about. These forms go out to artists who are going to submit to the call. And then that's one audience. And then the other audience are the residents or others who might want to purchase art. And that's where the selling part comes in. But I would really like to get some feedback from city staff right now about the selling portion of this idea. And is that causing any issues potentially?
No, thank you so much. I would have to research a little bit because again, this is kind of recreation's first foray into a call for art with the Public Arts Commission. And so I would need to get a little bit more information. And I know other questions have come up or have been raised about the liability or the insurance side as well. And so I would need to get clarification on. And my gut instinct is that, you know, obviously the city has certain policies in place or requires certain things, even as an example with the encroachment permit that the Rotary Bears had, they were required in order to display it to have insurance. And so my gut is telling me that we want to make sure that those things are still in place, even with some of these other pieces. So I think I would be hesitant to say that, but I can follow up and see if any of that is possible. But as far as selling goes, I would need to find out more information.
Jamie, let's take the insurance part of it off the table.
Okay.
I don't want us to take like 4 months to decide on this so that we end up with starting, you know, we've had this happen in past years where we've taken months to get the loan for art stuff out. And so if we take the insurance thing completely off the table, do 1,500 like we planned, and that'll pay for the insurance and it'll pay for them to travel. And we change our art has always been for sale. We changed the name of the program to Los Altos Art Without Walls, sponsored by the City Arts Commission. And in the copy, we add some art may be for sale.
No, and all of those things that you just mentioned are absolutely possible. I think it would help to get some clarification on what timeline the commissioners would be interested as far, because I know from previous meetings and conversations, you wanted to tag that into the fall so that it would fall after the Rotary Bear project, so that there wasn't overlap between those two. And in looking at past years, it's kind of fallen on calendar year, and so I think identifying what that timeline is, and just so that you know, the artist list, it has over 350 names and contacts on that. So that is a distribution that the information for whatever title of this program that you would like to do, it would be minimally inclusive of that distribution.
And I have names that I want to add as well. So 352, or however many it is, plus 2.
And Jamie, is it okay for me to send you information about where calls for public art usually end up? I used to send them to John. I don't know if he ever did anything with them, but like a wider distribution. Is that okay?
Absolutely. And actually, John Maginot confirmed that, Monica, you were a great resource for that kind of information. So on top of the artist list distribution that we have, would absolutely appreciate that information as well.
Okay, I will get that to you in the next few days.
It would be great to have the call for art also shared by the city Instagram or something too, with all the local art associations across the Bay as well. There's certainly a lot of talented artists here, and it's hard for us, I think, with the town crier to reach them. So, I mean, I know Monica's got calls for art. Those sources will help a lot. So that would be good.
No, I think Hiller's got a good idea.
This is a big sea change though, and I think it's a good one, but it's a big kind of sea change that we're going from, we have this public art on loan versus we really want to introduce people to art and then sell it. So it's a big, I'm happy to go with Nancy that says we want to go ahead and move on it now, but it's a pretty big shift. So I think there's a lot to think about.
And the only other suggestion that I was going to have to tag off of what you were saying, Hillary, is that we do have the 2 pieces, the flyer and the entry form, and rebranding is definitely possible, but maybe to facilitate, if we wanted to have additional work going surrounding that particular shift, you could have or appoint a subcommittee to work through those details so that that work could be done, and then a finalized version could come back to the commission to then actually approve and then release the call for art. So just throwing that option and process out there as well too.
Jamie, can we do that outside of a commission meeting?
For the subcommittee to work? Yes.
And can we approve as a group outside of a meeting? We can't, can we?
No, so the work to finalize the details by a subcommittee does not, and it could be no more than 3 commissioners. It can be less, it can be 2, could be 1, but it's less than a quorum for a subcommittee. That work can be done, but in order for it to be approved, it would need to come back, whether a special meeting or a regular meeting, to be fully approved by the full commission is what would be required.
Let's talk about
Jamie, I recall that John used to let us, he said if the commission as a whole gave permission to a subcommittee to rewrite something and approve it, that was okay.
As far as if you want to have the subcommittee, yes.
Okay, do we want to have a subcommittee for this project? And who would like to be on that? I'm happy to lead it. Who would like to be part of that?
I would like to be part of that.
Who was that speaking?
That's Ginny.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? I'm not volunteering for the subcommittee, but my question is, since we are down to 5 commissioners, if we have a subcommittee of 3 people, that's a majority.
So, so clarification on that piece, although there are 2 vacancies, majority is based off of the number of seats and not the number of commissioners that are actually on the commission. So 3 would still be okay.
Okay, well, that's good to know, but it doesn't matter how long those seats are vacant, huh?
Correct. It's based off the full commission body, which yours is still 7. So 3 would still be below quorum.
So we only have 5?
Yeah, are you
Did
guys
I miss something?
announce that?
I didn't hear that.
You didn't, Jenny, because they didn't send you, me, and Hillary the email about it.
No, and
What is it?
No, and that was going to be part of, as part of my update a little bit more, but we did have a resignation from the commission. So you are down to 5 commissioners on the Public Arts Commission. Commissioner Hurain did resign his position.
And Jamie, can you clarify for them that as long as, doesn't matter how many people they have, any affirmative vote of anything that came back to the commission would still require, therefore, 4 votes?
That is correct. And I was planning to clarify because there were some questions on the vote that was taken by the on the Mother Hen art piece at the last meeting. Majority is, as Council Vice Mayor Enander mentioned, it is based upon majority of the full commission seats, which is 7. So majority would have to be representative of 4 commissioners.
Okay. So let's get back onto this topic. So Monica, Hillary, Paula, would any of you like to be on the subcommittee for the Call for Art program?
No, sorry. I mean, I guess, sure, yes.
Do you have time? I know, Hillary, you're
Not a lot.
you've got a lot.
I mean, I got proofread, I guess. But I know you want to get it going, so sure. No more other subjects. Well, you've got me and Jenny. You've got me and Jenny, right? So that's all we can have.
Right. So are you okay? Are you okay then with it,
Yeah.
Hillary?
Sure.
Okay, great. All right.
So formation of the subcommittee, it would need to be a motion and approval by the commission to form that subcommittee.
I move to create a subcommittee for working on the next call for art. And I also move to allow them to wordsmith it. And once we decide on a date that we want all the entries from, and that that they have the power to just, once they're done, send it out so we don't have to have a special meeting. Let's just get this thing done.
Okay.
How about art for all? Instead of art without walls.
Oh, art for all.
Oh, I like that.
Done.
I still like the gallery concept, actually. But we can go through and come up with a bunch of different names.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a great idea to do that. Brainstorm.
So do we have a second? for the subcommittee?
Oh, yeah, we need someone to second Monica's
I'll
motion.
second it.
All in
Thank you,
favor?
Paula.
Let's do a roll count.
Nancy,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes,
Paula,
Yes.
and Hillary.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Do we want to decide on the date that we want all the submissions
Yeah, I
in
think
by
that's a great idea.
as per my, do you
Let's-
think you guys can meet and make a decision in the next week or so on what the verbiage should be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
so
try.
that's,
This is, I think Hillary and I both do this for a living, so we should be able to whip through it pretty quickly. So let's figure that we have something done and designed and out. I am a strong believer in, mailing. If we mail in mid-July, we're not going to get a huge response. We need to mail at least 3 times, Jamie, to the same audience. We can tweak the subject lines, but I'm feeling maybe starting early, the second week in August.
I think you should send it out now. Get it out as soon as possible. I get daily things with calls for art. People are calling for art all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agree.
Well, we can try for that. It's not a really optimum time from a direct email standpoint response time, but let's give it a shot. So we'll work quickly.
I think just get the ball rolling. If we're in a hurry to kind of get it done, then let's go ahead and get the ball rolling.
Okay.
We can always extend it. If we don't get enough in, we can extend the deadline maybe or something. You know.
That's true. Jamie, do you have an editable copy of the enrollment form and the flyer?
I do. And so I can forward those pieces to the subcommittee members.
Yeah, that would be great.
Jamie, what kind of, once the subcommittee is done, what kind of approvals do you need? Does it have to go through Donna? Does it have to go through the city attorney? What possible slowdowns are there once they've got the verbiage?
No, absolutely. It would probably approvals definitely through our director. And then if there's substantial changes, because I know I would just double check on the shift on maybe to, as you mentioned, the art is for sale. I just want to double check that if there are any specifics on maybe how we might need to word some of those pieces. I just want to double check on that, but that would be the only piece once the subcommittee finalizes their draft. And yes.
Great. Okay, is there anything else that we need to go over for, I know we all want to get it out quickly so that we can at least start getting people's responses probably in early September. Is that what everyone
would be my next question, because it sounds like we want to try and get the call for art out. What deadline of returning information would the commission be looking at?
Let's make it like September 15th, which is right before our September meeting and therefore right before the Rotary art sale, their art sale.
How about, that's a really good point, Monica, but how about a week earlier than that? Labor Day is on the 6th of September. How about the deadline being September 10th?
To what? To get them back in or to get it out?
To get them back in.
Are you talking about having submissions from artists who want to have their pieces considered back in by September 10th?
Correct.
Okay.
So that gives you, and it would be, you know, a couple of days either way, Jamie. So that gives you an idea. Okay.
And Jamie, one thing that John learned, and I'm guilty of this too, when I reply to calls for art, people don't often respond until the night that it's supposed to be due. I don't know why.
No, I think it's the nature. I've, with several projects, whether it's been requests for proposals or bids, my experience has been the same.
Okay. So there's flakiness and procrastination everywhere.
Yes.
Good to know. Okay. So are there any other comments on this topic before we move on?
Nope. Let's move on.
Okay. Moving to community art projects.
Well, one quick,
there an
can I ask one quick question for the previous topic? If I have a little bit of feedback on the form, so I just send it to Jamie today so that she can maybe incorporate that to this, then send it to the subcommittee?
She's nodding her head, yes.
She's not yet. Okay, perfect. I'll send that out tonight.
Sorry, realized I was on mute when I said that. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to community art projects. Do we have an update from the Community Art Subcommittee? Do I have deer in headlights?
Yes, we saw prints and they didn't last very long, but
They're cute.
No, they were gone. They're
Yeah.
very cute, but very short-lived. I did talk to Carol Dabb about the two things that the commission had talked about that had to do with bears. And she would love for us to do a scavenger hunt of some sort. So I don't know if the commission would like to take that on. We did one not too long ago. What do you guys think?
Can I throw in a little comment? I'm a little salty with Rotary, who is now putting in a mural and didn't seem to have the courtesy to say they were putting a mural in.
Yeah, I think everyone sort of has those same feelings.
So let's maybe we've got other things on our plate right now. What do you think about just taking a little bit of a break?
We could do that.
I also think it's something that probably someone in the Rotary could do. So, I mean, I think it'd be fun if we did it, but I think they could. I'm sure there's somebody talented with graphics and Canvas that could hop on and do a scavenger hunt. So, if we had a load of time and energy and didn't have a lot of empty commission seats, but I think our plate's fairly full.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good point.
So, okay. So, do we have, I think our next big community art project will be, Ginny, you mentioned that Rotary was going to give us a table at the Rotary Art Show.
Well, that was to do something that our little subcommittee decided was probably not such a great idea because it really promotes Rotary and doesn't promote community art as a whole. And it isn't about Los Altos, but more about bears.
Well, could we use that table as a way to kind of tie some of this together and help promote the private purchase of art, like the bears and like public art? Is there a way to host a table where we could kind of, help expand that idea?
I don't know.
With the concept of more, I love your idea, Hillary, about buying public art and installing public art. And so, if we could do that, that would be great. And the bears are public art.
Right. It would help the Rotary because it would encourage people to well, if you get a bear, what do you do with it? So.
So how are you envisioning this table? What would that table look like?
Well, we could have pictures of, people around town who do have notable pieces of art. There's a person in downtown that has the cow, which I love. Where do they get? Maybe they could come and talk to people, or we could print out some of their stories and stuff, and just have people there to talk about. Yes, you can buy a bear. Here's places you could put it. We could do a coloring page of draw a bear in your house or something like that. So, I don't know. It's just an idea. It seems like it seems like a nice way to have a table at the Rotary Show. It seems like a way to kind of combine the two ideas.
But I don't.
Go ahead,
I don't
Nancy.
want to commit to pushing Rotary's bears. I would much sooner go into it honestly with them and say, we have some of our own programs that we're going to promote as well.
That's fair.
Well, I
Could
think
we-
we're going to have a really difficult time pushing that through Rotary in terms of a table at their function. They seem very interested in promoting their own project, and
That's fair.
that's kind of it. As a matter of fact, when I was talking to Carol about some sort of canvas that would help promote the bears, she didn't want it to be all about they didn't want it to be all about Los Altos, but basically all about Rotary. And as a matter of fact, they wanted to have the Rotary emblem be part of the canvas. So
Yeah.
that to me is really getting away from the whole idea of public art that's for everybody and not just promoting Rotary.
Yeah. That's not for us then. That's for them to do. Yeah.
And they wanted us
Yeah,
to do
exactly.
it, so, yeah.
I mean, the only other thing I could think of is some kind of like little kids color in the bear, and then it could be displayed at, I don't know, Chamber of Commerce or something, or in the new city, somewhere in the city. But if they're going to want their logo on it, that probably won't fly with us.
I think
Yeah.
they could do that on their own, like
Agreed.
others have mentioned. That's a pretty simple kind of project, and yeah.
And
Well,
we are
yeah,
understaffed. We're
definitely.
under.
Mhm.
Do we want to just pass on it?
I think we've kind of done our part for them, for the bears. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So our next then big public art event will be doing our call for art, which hopefully will get a lot of folks in the community that will respond as well. And I think we can, if everyone can commit to sending the call for art to artist friends, either local or outside the community, that would probably help as well.
Well,
So
and
any
don't forget
other,
too, the
oh, sorry, go-
murals. I was just gonna say, don't forget too, the murals are sort of not community involved, but a community project that once they're unveiled at the community center, will
Yeah.
put some public art,
I would also love to see us revive that at some point, that canvas, the community canvas, paint by numbers idea that we were going to do at Night of Ideas, because we have the artists with us on board who would create that for us. So if we can think of a time when it might be appropriate and fun to promote that, I think that might be something we want to think about in the future.
We might want to do something like that to coincide with the opening of the community center. I don't know, since we have Park and Rec representatives, if there's going to be a big bash or a big opening. If there is, we could do something then.
that's true. That's a good idea.
I
Mom.
think that would make great sense.
Mhm.
We are currently working on those details as we speak, and I think it would be wonderful to collaborate. And no, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Make
Good.
sure there's lots of free food. I was a grad student once.
anything further on public art?
Maybe this falls under a different area, but we had talked about sort of the council bringing together the different art groups. Is that something that still we want to talk about, or does that come up under a different topic?
I think it comes up under a different topic.
Copy. I just want to make sure we revisit it at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
we will. Okay, moving to the Los Altos Public Arts Commission guidelines. And don't worry, we're not going to go over them line by line, but I did want to encourage everybody to read through them. Jamie sent them out, and then they're also included in our packet this time. There's a link included. And I want to give you a little bit of history. When we proposed the Public Art Master Plan and council decided to move against it, we consolidated the Master Art Plan from, I think, 140 pages down to like 15 or 20. And it's called Art Guidelines. And the Art Guidelines surprisingly have helped us dodge a couple of bullets. I hate using gun metaphors, but we have been able to dodge a few little issues that have come up because of our guidelines. The guidelines also have been approved by the City Council. So if we make any changes, they have to be approved by the City Council. And that means we open the whole thing up to having the entire guideline, art guidelines document changed. So I would caution everybody, if someone sees something that really absolutely needs to be changed, just know that we would have to go through City Council to do it again, and it opens the door to having the entire document changed or the entire document thrown out.
I did actually spend quite a bit of time reading, and for me, I was actually, like you said, we dodged bullets. I was very impressed with the scope and breadth of a lot of the information there, that it was very well thought out. There were spots where the wordsmithing wasn't quite right or no longer appropriate, but I didn't feel like that was worth cracking the document open for and potentially having City Council say, wait a minute, we want to throw the whole thing out.
Thank you, Monica, because I was the one that did that, pulled all that stuff together, and then John wordsmithed it. So I'll blame the wordsmithing on John, and I will certainly take credit for the rest of the document.
I was very, I didn't even realize it was, all right, I take back everything I said. No, I thought it was a very well thought out document, and it had a lot of, what they call in computer science, like end cases and special cases. So
after our former commissioners stormed off because they didn't get the plan approved, and I was kind of shell-shocked. And so good, I'm glad it kind of passes the muster. And my feeling is, if it's good enough, it's not worth opening it up again.
was I the only one who bothered to read it?
No, I looked through it. You weren't the only one. I think it's fine. It's 2018, right? So it's only 3 years. I wouldn't see that there's a necessity to revisit it this early. And I agree with you. I would not want to take the chance, having gone through that process, to have somebody pick it apart at the council level and say, oh, why do we even have this? So I agree with what you were saying, Nancy, that we should, and Monica, we should just leave well enough alone right now.
The one thing that I would like to add to it, but it's kind of, is a link to the percent funding, because as I remember, Paula, you may remember this, and Monica as well, I thought that was a chapter that was in there, but apparently when John pulled that out, it became a city ordinance, and it doesn't refer to it in the guidelines. And so I would love to have a link in there. But I'm Vice Mayor Enander, is that something we can add without council approval, or does that need to have council approval to add a link to another document?
I don't know. I think Jamie can probably chase the answer to that, unless she wants me to.
No, I'm happy to confirm that piece. Sharing additional information, but I will double check. It's not changing the overall content. It's providing more information, but I will confirm.
Yeah, I'm with
That-
Jamie. I think if since there's no content involved, it's simply a reference to an approved public document, shouldn't be a problem, but Jamie will go find that out.
That would be great. Ginny, did you have a chance to take a look at the guidelines?
I'm sorry, I'm having so much technical difficulty. I'm
no
in New
problem.
York and trying to do this on my iPad, and I can't seem to get video, and audio's fading in and out. I did have a chance to take a look at it. I wasn't part of the commission when it was drafted. I don't really know the history, but I certainly don't want to get us into a big melee with
Okay.
city council.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, you know, I urge you, if you haven't had a chance, it's interesting reading because it does have a little bit of our history in it. Not much, but a little bit. And when I first joined the commission, when I was first appointed, and I think it's around 10 years ago, and nothing like this was in existence. So I'm happy that we have some guidelines that we can work, you know, underneath or within or whatever. So anyway. All right.
And I wanted to echo that I think it's a good idea to look at this kind of documentation every couple of years, that you were correct, that it's a good idea to just double check and see if it still holds water.
Yeah.
And it was a good read. It was good for us to review it. So I thank you for that.
Can I
Great.
make a comment? This is Anita.
Yes.
Jamie, the Finance Commission that I sit on has a kind of a standard calendar where they review certain policies on either a 2-year basis or a 1-year basis or a 3-year basis. This might be the kind of thing that the commission would want to have, a kind of a regular plan that, you know, every 2 years or whatever that they look at it. Just an idea stolen from another commission.
Can I also make
Did
a
they-
suggestion that because we have a potential large number of commissioners coming in, that maybe we do another review like 6 to 8 months from now?
That's a great idea. Just know that, again, if there are any changes, they have to be approved by council,
Okay.
regardless of when you do them.
Or maybe, Jamie, you can work with whoever is appointed to the commission that's required reading and that they should become familiar with it. That's probably a better idea.
No, Monica, that is absolutely something that, and I can speak for the commission, the Library Commission, and I think the other commissions that Resignation provides support to. We find it very helpful and very useful to do an orientation so that they're familiar with, there's a lot going into at least policy and procedure that goes into being a volunteer on a city commission, but also to introduction to the purview of the commission and those documents that might help them better understand that piece. So absolutely agree.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving to the budget. Is everyone able to open the document and have the budget in front of them?
Yes.
Anita, I want to make sure that I'm clear on the budget meeting. So Vice Mayor, if you wouldn't mind giving us, can you give us an overview of the budget meeting that you were part of this week so we can get an understanding of where we sit?
Sure. So we have a statutory requirement to approve our budget by the end of June because our new fiscal year starts July 1. And we have a 2-year budget cycle. So what we do is we approve a 2-year budget, and then 1 year in, we make adjustments for the second year if we need to. So this year we were approving the new budget that will begin a new 2 budget cycle that begins July of this year, July of 2001. and will run to June 30, 2023. So it gets kind of funky trying to delineate what years we're talking about, and people tend to get confused, like, okay, well, are we starting 2021? Are we starting fiscal year 2022? So I'm going to speak about the period from July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2023. And so that's the 2-year budget that we approved. But then we also approve each budget. So it's not a 2-year period. We actually approved 2 separate 1-year budgets together. Does that make sense to you so far? If I've lost anybody, speak up. So in doing that, in looking at the 1-year budget for July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022, so this first year we're going to have, there was a recognition that because there is now, the funding has come in for the first time with this, with the 1%, that is a part, in a sense, of our operating budget, but those are restricted funds. And I'm going to use lay people's term here, not the real official financial term, because we have a number of funds where, depending on where the money comes from and the legal things that go with that, then that money can only be spent for certain things. And this Public Arts Fund is one of those kinds of funds. So it's not like you have a separate bank account for it. If John was here, he would explain this probably better than I will, but I'll stumble through the rest of it, and Jamie can chime in if I mess something up. It's not like you have a separate bank account, but you have a separate accounting in the city system for this fund, and it's designated as a fund and it's tracked as a separate fund. So there's the new money that's come in. There's a line item in the budget for that fund. It shows the receipts, or the expected receipts for the year, and the expected expenditures for the year. And there was a discussion in the staff report that went with the budget that noted that this was a new thing. It also noted the concern about doing the maintenance on Musical Gamble, and that it was the hope of the Arts Commission that that estimated $35,000 would be picked up out of the city's own other operating budget, but that it was the staff's feeling that it could be paid for from the new fund. And in the end, the city council voted to include it in approved expenditures from the Public Arts Fund for the next fiscal year. And the draft that, with the staff, incorporating the staff recommendation, was for a total of $60,000 to be spent in the coming fiscal year. And I got that by request and discussion during the meeting, got that bumped to 68,000. So you have, what does that make? 33,000 for other purposes planned for the coming fiscal year, plus the Musical Gamble refurbishment.
So Anita, does that include our $10,000 usual stipend?
You aren't going to have a usual stipend anymore.
Okay.
But it does not include, there separately is the money for whatever it is that is involved with the singer bust. That's not a part of this.
Well, and it's not on our plate any longer anyway.
Right,
So,
I'm just saying, it's a CIP project. It's separate. You're not going to see it anymore on any of your documents. Jamie,
Okay.
have I messed anything up? I think you were in the meeting.
No, Vice Mayor Nander, you covered that pretty well.
So are we looking at the next year as like 98,000 approximately?
Which next year?
July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
You will have the opportunity as we approach that period to say what you want to spend. You don't have to spend everything you have in the bucket.
But if we wanted to, that's the entire bucket at that point, unless we have more money coming in.
Unless you have more money coming in, correct.
Okay.
And I did a real rough back of the envelope kind of thing. There are 3 projects under construction on First Street right now. And this is truly, do not take this to the bank, you guys. Just a super, super rough calculation. in the next, I would expect those 3 projects to be finished in the next approximately 2 years. They have started excavation. So normally you would expect they would get done in the next 2 years. And my guess is that's probably at least another $250,000 to $300,000.
We're
So
taking,
we're already getting letters from different nonprofit groups offering to help us spend our money. So you all
I
have
don't
one in-
doubt that at all.
So
we're taking it to the bank.
why
Nina.
spending? Why spending?
So can I ask a question? If we wanted to spend more than what we put out in this budget, is that possible? Or could the commission ask city council to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so if an opportunity came about, the money is sitting in a bank account somewhere, earning 0.0001% interest. If we needed extra money from that, we could get it with justification.
Yeah, what would happen is that the city council would do a budget amendment to allow a greater expenditure. And Jamie's nodding her head up and down. So as long as Jamie and I agree on the answers, we're good here.
Okay.
But how did
So-
they arrive at the amount they arrived at? Because when I'm looking at what we have on the screen here, it's more than $68,000.
Right, but look at the far, we have year 1 and year 2 expenses.
Oh, so it's just on those. Okay, got it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
acoustic panels, which are the other big item,
Right.
are
Well,
year
yeah,
2.
those are both, yeah, because those are both year 1. Are they not? No, they're not. Year 2. Never mind. I get it. Thank you.
Can
got
I
it.
play devil's advocate here when we're looking at this budget, and I'm reflecting on something that Jenny said 1 or 2 meetings back about musical gamble. You know, for $35,000, are we better off doing a call for art and getting a new piece or something that's less expensive?
Something to think about.
It sure seems like a lot to me.
Well, I can talk to the renovation or restoration guy, but he pretty thoroughly went over the piece, and that was his, you know, time will tell. Let me talk with him. John and David met with him. I did not meet with him. I only rounded him up, but you know, I think musical gamble is a piece that everyone seems to love. You guys maybe don't, but there are others that do. So
Yeah, I know that there's some strong community ties to that piece, but Ginny, did you do an article on the piece or no?
I have not done an article on the
Okay.
piece. I'm happy to.
I think we did didn't we put out something in the town crier saying, looking for funding for the renovation, and we got nothing?
Yeah.
Which says to me that the community pull on that is either doesn't have deep pockets or not that strong.
Or doesn't read the town crier.
It was right.
Or doesn't read,
of COVID.
didn't read it that week.
It was right in the middle of COVID, though.
So I guess I have a question too, or a comment, like being that we've never had a budget like this to spend, we might want to just think about or talk about when we're deciding on spending a big chunk, like $35,000 to repair a sculpture or $35,000 for new murals. Do we want to go out to the public and get opinions on that before we spend that amount of money on anything? Those are just 2 big items that we're thinking about now.
It's a good idea.
I think yes, but do you really think that most people, when they hear, do you remember, Paula, when we hired
The master plan, yeah.
I can't remember Amanda Golden.
Amanda Golden.
I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But people were going, oh my God, you're spending 40 or 50, whatever we spent on it, $40,000 or $50,000. Oh my God, how can you pay that for consultants? I think you're going to get a lot of that, and you're not going to be hearing as much of the positive. I think as we go forward, when we do our our call for art, we maybe want to do a little more of that. But I'm not so sure on the maintenance part of it. And you know, the other thing is maybe there is something to be said for putting a little money aside for fixing some of the pieces we have, or for, and I think we need clarity on this. Do we have to pay now because we have a budget? Do we have to pay for plaques? Do we have to pay city fees to have city staff put in cement bases? Jamie, Vice Mayor, do you know anything about that? Are we going to have to be paying for that now?
I don't.
I would need to get clarification, and I don't have a specific answer for that either. So I can get back to the commission on that.
That would be great.
Yeah,
We
it would be good to know from the beginning. Sorry, Paula, I interrupted you.
Sorry, we did pay for the most recent plaques, but there wasn't very much money. We paid out of our own budget.
Yeah, they were something like $25 each or something, weren't they?
30 or 40, but yeah, they were quite reasonable.
But
Yeah.
I think Nancy's got a good point. Now that we have a pot of gold, will the city expect, you know, every little thing that maybe previously kind of came out of the budget, you know, the slush fund, but not really slush fund, but the regular operating budget for city staff and maintenance, are we suddenly going to be paying for it? You know, when I think
Yeah.
about, what was it, the line item for the Walter Singer bus, the, you know, the excavation of the ground. So if we want to put something in a park and the ground needs to be leveled, are we going to come up with a, you know, $1,000 or $5,000 bill to level the ground, sort of thing?
Right.
I think it would be good to, you know, good to know that in advance before we spend. But I don't know how much. Do we have budget topics that we want to talk about? Is there a way that everyone is thinking we should approach this? There are some things, let me just jump in. There are some things that are kind of, we have to have, like the community center hanging system for art,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Something we have to have, and so we have to buy that.
And I think the recorded docent tour to go with the murals, my personal opinion is that's a have to have, because I think we need to explain those pieces in the best way we can with Linda Gass's presentation.
I agree completely. Do we have community center group? Did anyone ever ask Linda about what the cost would be to do that?
No.
Her
No.
cost?
We have not gotten into details on that.
I don't know if she would know. I mean, maybe, but we could, you know, that'll take a little bit of some research, I think.
Well, it would be her time and a PowerPoint presentation that could be animated,
Right.
as she did with her presentation. But then there are also the ancillary things like headphone, you know, how would we want people to watch them?
Right.
You know,
Would we want it to be a small speaker? Would we want people to go to a website and listen to it from there? What's the optimum way of doing that?
could we
get-
Should the subcommittee maybe that deals with the community center take a look into that, see maybe best practices for museums and other organizations, and come up with, you know, a suggestion, and work with Parks and Rec about what they would like to see in the community center?
That's a good idea.
That's a
Jamie,
great idea.
Jamie, can you also connect them with Elizabeth Ward? Because I think Elizabeth might have some expertise to
I think-
contribute on
we
that.
all know her.
I think the Palo Alto Art Center also has something that runs on a loop on their iPad in their gallery space too. Monica, if you're over there.
Yeah, I start back to work in like a week or two, so I can talk to them.
And absolutely happy to connect or provide contact information so that it can help facilitate getting additional information from Elizabeth as well too.
So if we look at community center projects, let's just come up with kind of a laundry list of stuff for specific to the community center that we all agree to. There's the hanging center or hanging system for the art. There's the recorded docent tour, which the amount is TBD. And there was a great idea of doing photos or maps from the History Museum for the community center. And wouldn't it be great, now that we do have budget, if we could get those done before the community center opened?
Mhm.
What do you all think?
That leads a question that the subcommittee was wondering, do we need to do a motion that that's our first kind of call for art inside the community center before we pursue it with the History Museum?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Do we need to all vote on that? That yes, the commission has approved that, the photo and maps. Is that something we need to get the whole commission vote on?
Yes, but I didn't get where that was part of a call for art. Didn't you identify the pieces that you wanted to have blown up?
No,
We have not identified them.
we need to go back to the History Museum to do that, which I think we can do. But I think we just wanted to make sure before we kind of got started on that, do we need to get a vote on it, or are we good to go?
Well, I think, and Jamie, jump in here if I'm leading us astray. If we look at the community center hanging system for art at $2,000, we look at the recorded docent tour by Morgan, providing that is, do we want to set a limit on? No, I don't think we want to do that. But I think we need to get a cost on that. And then $2,000 to $3,000 for the 10 pieces that we had talked about for the History Museum. So is there any further discussion on those 3 items?
So
Sound like.
no, absolutely. And to your question, Nancy, this was in the proposed and your recommended budget for year one. So that was part of that discussion already.
Okay. What about, would everyone feel comfortable voting for all 3 of those activities, the hanging system, the recorded docent tour, and the photos or maps from the History Museum, on getting final for those and voting to
let me suggest that the docent tour that
go ahead, Monica.
I was going to say, let's table the docent tour. Maybe the subcommittee can do a little bit of research and come back with what we think would be a good fit for the community center in our community and what would be the possible cost.
Okay.
Because we don't know what we're doing and how much it's going to cost.
Okay. Okay. The thing that I'm worried about is it would be great to have that done before the museum opens. I don't think Linda would take a lot of time to do it, but can we move fairly quickly on getting the cost?
Can we, well, let me ask Jamie, can we put an item, can we make a motion if it's, let's say $1,000 or $2,000, then go ahead and do it. And if it's going to be more, we have to come back to the whole commission. Is that the best way to handle it?
So we do have, and as Vice Mayor Enander mentioned, the first year budget for year one is a little bit larger than here because originally, currently what was passed was 68,000. And so you could, if it's past the amount that was currently budgeted, and as we kind of mentioned before, we can amend because you do have a dedicated fund to public art. It would just be a budget amendment, and I'll confirm the exact process, but you can amend what that is because you do have a dedicated source and fund for these types of projects. So you could make that as if it goes over what has currently been budgeted for year one, that can come back to the full commission and clarify.
Okay, because the cost right now says cost TBD. I just want to make sure that people who are not in the subcommittee are comfortable with us deciding the what and the how and the how much.
I am.
I'm perfectly comfortable.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so would someone like to make a motion that includes the community center hanging system for art, the recorded docent tour, and all the accoutrements that we need to make that work, and the photos or maps from History Museum, and we're looking at a $2,000 to $3,000 expense there. For the hanging system for art, a $2,000 expense there. And for the docent tour, that cost is TBD, and let's put a not to exceed on it. Do you want to put a not to exceed of like $3,000? Is that reasonable?
Well, how do you put that? I mean, I could email Linda tonight and ask her what her fee would be, but I don't know how you put a not to exceed before we have any kind of information. If, you know, if we buy an iPod, if we buy headphones, you know.
Yeah, and if we need to, like, you know, build a stand to hold the iPad.
Yeah.
Can we make it the not to exceed at least like 5,000 or something?
I was thinking.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. So I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion then that we pass the first 3 items in the community center art.
Right, and the total would be
Like say 10.
$10,000.
At $10,000
Okay.
For all 3.
for all 3.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Casey, do you mind doing a roll call vote?
Of course not.
But is this where we can ask a question before we actually vote? So what happens if it does exceed? Like if we end up finding out that it costs more than $200 each to do these maps or photos, if the total exceeds $10,000, do we just come back to the commission as a whole, revisit this?
Jamie and Casey, what's your guidance?
No, I think that would be the appropriate direction.
Okay, thank you.
Are you ready for the call, Nancy?
Yes.
The roll call? Okay, Nancy,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
and Hillary.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, 10K down, 58 to go.
There we go. There we go.
And the good news is if you don't spend all 10, the balance comes back into the kitty and you can spend it on something else.
Perfect.
There you go. Are you all comfortable going back to musical gamble if I touch base with the restorer again?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now we know what we have to spend, and now we are back on the hen. Jamie, maybe you can, I read through the notes and I kind of understood where we were, but I kind of didn't understand it. And I bet you can explain it a lot more clearly than I can. So last month, as you recall, we voted to purchase Mother Hen from the artist. I need to add a little bit of color to the background here. right after our vote, a couple of days after, I got a call from a friend that I work with in another nonprofit. And she said, you know, there's this piece of art in downtown Los Altos that I have a friend who is dying to buy it. And I said, oh, which piece? And she said, well, it's a hen. It is mosaic. And I said, seriously? And yes, so we have a potential buyer, but we also, everyone except for me and David, who is abandoned ship, wanted to buy the piece. What do you want to do?
Well, Hillary wasn't here last meeting. Let's hear Hillary's feelings about.
If there's a person who wants to buy it, I would say let them buy it.
And what do they want to buy it for?
Yeah. It's not a done deal, and it's not through us. I said, here's the artist's name. Go directly to her.
Oh, okay.
Do we want to wait a week, wait and see whether it happens? Do we want to go ahead and offer the artist money? And because we've got another bite at the apple, my feeling is the artist would need to come and clean and repair it if there were any, you know, boo-boos or anything. What do you all think?
I think if the private sale or sale between the artist and a person can happen, let's see if that happens first.
Well,
Do you want to give it a month, Hillary?
Yeah, I mean.
I think that if one of our new goals is going to be to have public art be sold, then this is a great first step in that direction.
Yep, exactly.
Are you all going to be mad at me if the person fails?
Paula disagrees. Go ahead, Paula. Speak your piece.
I disagree. I still stand by my vote last time. I think it's a piece that adds to the city. I think it's kind of a piece that a lot of people here respond to. I think it's great for the artist if she can sell it for more privately, which may be what happens. But I personally think it would be too bad because we have empty spots for pieces around town. And I know we're putting out another call for art, but we often don't get enough pieces that we like to even fill those spots. So I would love to see us still attempt to buy it.
And
Hillary, to give some background, the artist received a $1,000 stipend. She wants $8,500 for the piece. We decided we would offer her $6,000, knowing that we've already given her $1,000 for the stipend.
And also on her original application, her loan application, at that time she was valuing it at $7,000.
I think that's fine. I still think if we're kind of pivoting to letting the art be for sale, we should let them try to make a sale. And then maybe we could come in at a lower price for it. She didn't sell it, so.
Do we want to give it one more month and see what happens?
Yeah, I think so. And see if we can talk to
I think,
Jamie's
yeah,
raising
I
her
agree
hand.
with that.
Jamie.
Jamie's got her hand up.
So clarifying piece, and this is what Nancy was referencing, is that at the last meeting on June 10th, and as I mentioned before, majority of the commission would need to be 4 commissioners, which the vote of 3 to 2 would not fall into that category and would not be representative of majority of the commission. The artist, so if the sale is not, I think it puts it in timing wise would make it a little bit awkward, because if we wait a month, the artist wanted to set August as the time to pick up the piece if the city and the commission does not or is not interested in recommending the purchase. And so if we delay what that decision would be by the full commission, then it would, because also if the commission does not, if they do recommend, if you guys do recommend to purchase, it would need city council approval, which would add another layer in time. And so if we delay making or knowing what that majority position is, whether it's to purchase or not to purchase, we would not meet that deadline by the artist who would like, she already extended it to see if the commission would be interested in recommending purchasing. She then wanted to utilize the beginning of August to basically work out time to come pick up the piece. It would really tighten that deadline if we delayed it a month and waited until the end of July.
Jamie, Casey's got her hand question as well. Casey?
I just wanted to make one correction, is that it was 6,000 total, and so it was 5,000 on top of the 1,000 stipend that the artist had already received.
Thank you, thank you, Casey. You know, I'm not 100% sure about this, but since a previous council approved the piece as a loaned piece, and since it is our budget and it's, I think, under $10,000, is that something that we need to wait and go in front of council to do?
Yeah, so answer to your question is, as the Public Arts Commission, temporary installations are through the Public Arts Commission, and the Public Arts Commission has the ability to approve temporary installations. If it's a recommended purchase of an arts piece, that would be a permanent location, and that would need to be approved by City Council.
Thank you for clarifying, Jamie.
So
Okay.
There is no ceiling or floor on art pieces such as the photos or maps that we are thinking could be $2 to $3K that we're going to spend money on. That doesn't have to go to council. Is that because the budget was approved?
So clarifying piece, it's for permanent placement. Again, temporary installations are can be approved by the Public Arts Commission directly. It's the permanent installations that City Council has required that go through them, regardless of amount.
So if the chicken were to move around, to be purchased and move around town, we wouldn't have to get okay from the council.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
clarifying piece on that is that the temporary installation was for 2 years. Obviously the pandemic hit and that extended the time. That would be, it would be contingent upon the artist saying that they would continue to want it to be a temporary and on loan for that.
I think, Jamie, if I can jump in, I think the question is, when does it have to go to council? And I believe it has to go to council if it's a permanent acquisition. It's not the placement. It's a permanent acquisition, because then it becomes an asset of the city.
Yes.
That the city, that I have to say that the
And
city
then we
does
have to
not
pay
maintain.
for
You knew I was going to say that.
I
right?
did. You did it because
So
it's
it becomes an asset of the city that the city doesn't maintain. Okay.
so I would like to clarify my statement. And if it seems like the most positive situation for the artist in this case is for us as a commission to withdraw our offer to purchase it and let her sell it privately. So if that's the best thing for the artist, then I think that would be a better thing to do than to drag out.
Let me propose something else. Would everyone, I know we all hate special meetings, but would everyone be open to having a special meeting in another week? And I will call my friend and tell her to call her friend, and if she's serious, to do it, and if she's not serious, to let us know, and then we can vote, because I know that there are members of the commission that love that piece. I don't happen to be one of them, but it's okay. I know that there are people that love it. And if we feel that we want to spend our budget on that, it's the group's decision. It's I'm only one voice. So what would you like to do?
I'm more than happy to have a 5-minute special meeting.
Should we make it like 30 minutes just to make it worth Jamie's time for getting the agenda out and Casey's time for getting it posted?
Sure.
We could make it a 30-minute meeting with a quick adjournment.
There you go. Perfect. Would that make you a little happier, Paula, as far as making sure that we try
Yeah,
our best?
that's fine, because maybe that's not even going to happen, and then we would have passed on it. But I'm also, I mean, if we want to vote again on it, we have a different complement of commissioners tonight, so and I took note of the highlighted piece in our packet of majority. I feel like we have a little pressure on us. It's only a 5-body commission here to come to majority votes. So
Should we take a
holdout on this, then I definitely don't want to be that.
Should we take a straw man vote that if it turns out that it's not going to be purchased by the friend of a friend, if we would be interested in purchasing it, so then we know if we should have the special meeting?
That's a good idea. Is that okay to do? Okay. Straw vote. Who would want to purchase for $6,000 if the artist agreed to sell it to us for that price, including making sure that it's in good condition and cleaning it? Who would want to vote to buy it, and who would want to vote to not buy it?
So did you mean to say $5,000, or were you including the $1,000 that she's already been paid?
I think that Casey corrected me a little bit earlier, Ginny, and I think that I said originally 7, but it was actually 6. So it was 5,000 plus 1,000. Is that right?
Plus the 1,000 that we've already been paid. Is that what you're saying? So 5,000 additional we'd be paying her.
That's correct, Jenny.
Okay.
If she agreed. So let's do a straw poll. Paula, why don't you start?
I would vote to buy it in that situation.
Okay. Monica?
Buy it.
Ginny?
Buy it.
Hillary?
I guess buy it.
Yay, Hillary!
And I'm no, Hillary. So if you need to be brave to say no, not that I'm
I
trying to politics here.
I have no strong feeling about it, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great use of our money, but I clearly, it's 4 against 1, so I lose. So there you go. So, fine. So let's do a quick special meeting. I will get on the phone to my friend and tell her to call her friend and see. Oh, it's actually, Paula, another art docent, another former art docent that is my friend.
Art commissioner or Los Altos art docent?
Art docent, the art docents, the group that you were part of.
Yeah. Cool.
So, okay. So I will do that. And do we want to leave it that? I guess I have to get back to everybody and let you know, because, well, it's not going to be me. It's going to be the artist. So, okay. How do we want to leave this, Jamie?
It needs to go back to Jamie.
Okay. Thank you. Should I tell them to call?
And so actually we do need a vote that would technically override the last meeting's vote that would move it to a special meeting. So I have what was kind of a motion from you, Nancy. So if I can get a second, you can all agree to have the special meeting, and then that puts the other piece on hold.
Second it.
Great.
I have that from Hillary.
Can you have a yes from Nancy?
And a yes from Monica.
Monica.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I suggest, if we do end up having the special meeting, should we also then review the call for art that's been recrafted?
Oh, good idea. Do you think we can get it together that soon? We probably
Yeah.
can.
We can do it.
Okay. And that would give us the ability, if we got this done, we could possibly get on the July. Does council have a meeting at the end of July?
They do not. So their next meeting is July 13th, and then there is a break, and the next meeting would not be until the end of August. So there
We
is.
need to be speedy on this. Okay. All right. I will, I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll call her and tell her to park it or drive it. All right.
And
Moving
Jamie,
to-
you might want to alert the city clerk the possibility of probably be a consent item. God, like the list is growing. That agenda is going to be huge. Just on the possibility, but maybe just let her know.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. That's great.
And the other piece that I think would be helpful is, given the quick turnaround, and also speaking, because I also am liaison to the Library Commission. If it's a quick meeting and we want to stick with Thursdays, finding out when that special meeting would be helpful.
Okay. Okay. And, you know, it could be a moot point. It could be something that we roll on. So I will work quickly to get to my friend and tell her there's some urgency that her friend either decides or doesn't decide.
Nancy, are you getting a commission for this chicken?
No, are you kidding?
No.
I hate the piece so, well, I don't hate it. I just don't like it so much that it would be embarrassing to get a commission for it, really. But I just would like it repositioned, if anything, you know, flipped around the other way. I don't know, somewhere where the chicken butt isn't staring you in the face. Okay. Moving to Jamie, informational items.
No, the only piece referenced a few items in the report, and just wanted to update that the community center is coming along, and wanted to update that we are definitely working on the process to move the fire strobe. So just wanted to update the commission on that piece, but that's all that I have.
Do we have an ETA on when that will be moved or could be moved?
We're working on that process. The staff is working quite hard to finish the project. And so it's still working on that timeline. But we know that there's a preference, and there's a preference on the staff side for the fire strobe to be moved as well too. So it's just finalizing the timeline on when that will be, but we are working on that very diligently.
And if I might add to that, some of this is not under the staff or the contractor's control because the move has to get approved by county fire, and they have their own timeline that they work on for doing that kind of thing. So staff is, I know, doing everything they can to accelerate that, but they are to some extent at the mercy of when county fire acts.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any updates on either when Morgan Bricka is going to be painting the murals, and any updates on the Charles Gedecken piece, the lighted piece?
Absolutely. So I was actually, all of us, myself, Casey, and Will, we were all on site earlier today for training, and the footings, they're still for the tower, that's starting to be finalized. We still have to work on the other two footings for the other two pieces, the conversation piece and then the dancing man. So that's still in progress. The dancing man is a favorite of Casey's. So she's very excited about that one. And then as far as the murals go, we're working feverishly to get the building and all of that completed, and then once that is completed, then the murals will be able to come in. But again, working on that firestroke piece. So it's a lot of moving parts that are contingent upon each other. So we're working on those timelines.
Well, have you received anything from the artist on the tower, like sketches? Like we've had no feedback on the animals he chose or anything. Like,
oh, okay. I was not aware of that, so I can follow up and see if I can get some additional information and then share that as an update.
I
okay.
thought we did choose animals. Did we not? Or
Did we?
I thought we did.
We talked about it with him in our meeting and gave him suggestions, but that was with John, like, I don't know, a year ago, maybe?
It was a year, it was
And-
at least a year ago. And didn't we say we didn't want anything that was like predatory, like coming down with big?
No, we gave him lists to work from of local animals, but I thought maybe we'd get some sort of a sketch at some point back to see what he decided on. So anyway, it would be nice to see.
No,
And
absolutely.
And Jamie, I know I've asked this before, and is there any way that we being the subcommittee, that we could do another walkthrough just as we start thinking about getting the hanging system and how many pieces to hang, just to get a visual so we have a clue as to what we're doing?
No, absolutely. For the full commission's benefit, again, working to get all of the construction pieces completed. And so once it has been turned over to the city, we can absolutely work through opportunities for the subcommittee to do a tour.
Do we have an ETA on when that might be? Is that like in the August timeframe, or what is it?
No, so we're working on when that would be. I think at this point, and obviously pending that everything still works to that schedule, I think August is a good target.
Okay, so
Do we
then,
know how, oh, sorry, go ahead, Monica.
so then I'll take it offline that the subcommittee will contact Jamie to get the measurements of the walls again, and we'll start working with the History Museum and seeing what we can do.
Yes, no, I would.
Sorry, Annie, go ahead.
I would be happy to coordinate with the subcommittee on those pieces.
Do we know how long, and I know she said this early on, and I can't remember how long Morgan said it would take to paint everything?
Yes, so that part, because I've been in lots of contact with both Linda and with Morgan, essentially it would be 1 week per mural. So a full 2-week process.
Is there any sort of?
We're working around their existing schedules.
Yep, absolutely. It would be a collaborative effort, both between when they would be able to get access and then also what would work best with their schedules as well.
Is there any, for lack of a better term, like verathane or something that's going to go over it to protect it? Or
For that information.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I can confirm that information with Morgan. I'm not as familiar with that process, so I can confirm what that would be.
Okay, I just am worried that, you know, somebody with popsicle, maybe even me, will, you know, slap their sticky hand on it. So that's more it.
Well, just one thing to remember, Nancy, she uses acrylic paints, which are basically plastic when they dry. So we did talk about this in one of our subcommittee meetings with her, and I don't know what the decision is, and she may be putting some kind of a finish on them, but she didn't seem too concerned.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
we know
she
where
does
the
murals at elementary schools, and the kids are probably sticky fingered all the time, so she's used to this.
There you go. Hey, you know, one last thing, since we've still got Ginny on the phone. Ginny, have we done anything in the crier on the murals? And the fact that we have
No. I think we talked at the last meeting about doing that at the time that the center is going to open.
Yeah.
Saving those mural pieces for right around that time.
Okay,
And so as soon as I know when that time's going to be, I can aim for an article that will come out right about the time that, you know, that all the publicity is going to be going out about the community center.
it would be great to maybe give Bruce a heads up once we have that date, so he can make sure that they're available.
He's been pretty good about getting a submission and putting it right into the next issue, but I can be proactive.
Yeah, the crier is getting thinner and thinner as far as advertising, so we may want to, and that balances the editorial, so we may want to just mention it.
Okay.
Before we go, what is happening with the council trying to coordinate the art groups in town?
We have not had a meeting yet. We have had, and I think we've gone out and done research, but we have not had a meeting yet.
Yeah, I think I'm on that subcommittee.
Yes.
We are, and I will call a meeting. I've had some family stuff that sort of jumped in the way.
No worries.
So
I
I will call it.
Yeah, I don't want to lose track of it because I do think it's important. So
I agree.
So Hillary, I'm meeting with a woman who owns an art gallery in downtown Menlo Park across the street from the co-op gallery I show at.
Mm-hmm.
And she does something, it's not quite similar, but similar for Menlo Park. So I'm meeting with her on Tuesday. So I'll try and get some back information.
That's great. That'd be helpful. Okay.
And that was, by the way, one of the reasons that I called Lake Oswego.
Oh, good. Good.
Because that was what Chris Jordan had said years ago, that's what they had done. So that was my motivation to call them.
But to Hillary's point about the some kind of commission, council, whatever we want to call it, you know, when Rotary, when I saw an article on Rotary's Facebook page that they're putting a mural in, it's like everybody's doing stuff and there's no coordination and no, you know, knowledge of what the other groups are doing. So I think time is of the essence.
Well, we all have in our inboxes requests from Art Los Altos. They're happy to help us spend money. And
I'm sure they are.
There you go. All right, before we, and we're a little bit over, sorry. Before we end, does anyone have any additional comments, final comments?
Just one for me, and just a reminder, it was pretty basic, but we want to make sure that conversations by the commission are for agenda items, and the Arts Council wasn't necessarily on the agenda, so we just need to be cautious of that. I think it would be good to agendize that for the next meeting, and it would give the subcommittee time to bring back that information for the full commission to consider. So
it was on the budget. It was on the budget, so we just didn't talk about
it. Was on the budget. She's right. Can we put that on the next full agenda, like end of July, not the if we have a special meeting agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So everyone have a great rest of June. We may be talking in a week. We may not be talking in a week. I will follow up. And those who want the mother hen, keep your fingers crossed.
Nancy, before you adjourn, can I toss one thing in?
Yes,
and Jamie probably knows this better than I do, but I recall the city clerk saying she was getting ready to go out to advertise the vacancies and for reappointments for commissions. And I think that will be posted soon. But I know this is going to become a very popular commission because you have a pot of money now. So, so talk to all your friends and people that you know care about public art and care about our town, and be sure they're ready to go. And maybe Jamie, when that announcement comes out, I'm sure you will be distributing it to the members of the commission so that they can pass it on to other people and those who are eligible and interested in potentially being reappointed. If your term is up in September, that we'd be sure you get you to reapply as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up.
And when would the approximately when is The meetings for, I mean, the interviews, and when are the appointments approximately?
Jamie, do you have that in front of you? I don't have it in front of me. I think they're planning to have it open in July. Screening and interviews would be in August for appointments by the end of August is my recollection, but I don't have the calendar in front of me. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. I can re-forward that information, but it was a release of the call for applications mid-July. And so interviews, I believe, are planned for, I believe, Vice Mayor Nander, you are correct, for the end of August, with then appointments at the beginning of September. And then that would actually feed into their term starting in October.
I think the term starts in September. I think. But anyway, yeah, if you could.
Also, if you have friends that are interested, you might tell them that they need to come to 2 or 3. They need to start coming to meetings because I don't know that people understand kind of the tenor of some of the different commissions. And if they're interested in arts, they need to be willing to own programs or projects.
Yep.
So there you go.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for staying a little bit longer. Thank you staff there almost are as many staff members as there are commissioners at this point. So thank you very much.
No, it's totally frozen.
Thanks especially for all the pre-planning that you did. And take
Thank
care
you.
and everyone stay safe. And I'll let you know about Mother Hen, or I'll let you know about what I know. Anyway, thanks. Take care.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye.